Hey, gorgeous. Welcome to Season 2 of the Hormone Puzzle Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Kayla Smith, CEO of the Hormone Puzzle Society, a women's health hub for fertility, hormones, and the business of coaching, creator of the Hormone Puzzle Method, an infertility warrior, two-time boy mom, and women's health expert. This podcast is for women struggling with infertility, painful periods, terrible PMS, or really just any symptom of hormone imbalance that they are ready to eliminate for good. Tune in weekly as we interview amazing experts in the fields of women's health, breaking down those hormone walls, nerding out on nutrition, and having way too much fun. Whether you're beginning your journey or you've been struggling for years, we're going to finally help you put those pieces of your hormone puzzle back together so that you can get pregnant and eliminate those pesky symptoms for good. Are you ready? This season is packed with even more expert guests sharing groundbreaking knowledge, giving you that jolt of energy that you so desperately need, sending you lots of virtual hugs, and inspiring you to take your fertility into your own hands and make that baby. Thank you so much for tuning in. Now let's get started on your road to transformation. On today's show, we have Dr. Aimee Baron, who is the founder and executive director of I Was Supposed to Have a Baby, a nonprofit organization that utilizes social media to support Jewish individuals and families as they are struggling to have a child. It provides a warm and nurturing space for those going through infertility, pregnancy loss, infant loss, surrogacy, or adoption. In addition to connecting those families to resources in the Jewish community at large, Dr. Baron was formerly the Director of Innovation and Growth at Nietzsche Comfort and has also worked as an attending physician in the newborn nursery and neonatal intensive care unit at St. Luke's Roosevelt Hospital before taking a leave of absence after her third miscarriage. She lives in the New York area with her family and is perpetually on the search for the best chocolate baka. Let's welcome Dr. Aimee to the show. Hey, Dr. Aimee, thank you so much for joining me. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about you and your story and how you kind of got into working in this field.
So look, I really just want to thank you so much for allowing me to have this ability to share a little bit more about my work. It's always such a pleasure for me to be able to talk to more people because, as you know, in this space, the entire piece, the reason why any of us do this work is because we want to make people feel less alone. And that really is the essence of the work that I do as well. So I was supposed to have a baby. That is the platform on Instagram. And also it's officially a 501c3 nonprofit. Cool. I started it based off of my own personal experiences. Mm-hmm. I have unfortunately a long history of secondary infertility and multiple miscarriages, including 4 second trimester losses in a row. And in the midst of those experiences, going through just all of those years of pain and uncertainty and the isolation because nobody got it and we didn't feel comfortable talking to people, it really kind of put a bug in my head after, we were past that process and I was finally finished we knew that we weren't going to be trying to have any more children. I kind of got this bug to talk more about this and really try to help as many people as possible. And that was directly because I was asked to speak locally in my own community about my experiences. And then I realized the power of telling a story and the power of sharing experiences just like that. And I went to work for another Jewish fertility organization for 3 years that specifically deals with pregnancy loss. That organization is called Nechama Comfort. And, really through working in that space, I realized that there was this real hole in Jewish communal support in terms of what people were offering on social media. Look, you and I met because of social media, and we know the power of social media, but to the outside world, social media is sort of this like vapid, really like a superficial space where people just talk about their clothes and their jewelry and, the way they're going shopping and, putting pictures of their perfectly dressed families and so on and so forth. Right. I know social media. Yes, of course I know that piece of it, but I know social media as a space where it's warm and supportive and collaborative and genuine and really touches on the real insecurities and the emotions that people are going through, and specifically in the fertility space. And so what I saw, and now we're talking about 5 years ago, like I saw this emergence of all of these different accounts of different women, sometimes and men, speaking about these experiences, their personal experiences, or reporters or therapists talking about the different kinds of pain and the emotions one can go through, and very much normalizing that experience. And there was such power in that. And nobody was doing it for the Jewish community. And so I was supposed to have a baby specifically to hit that hole. Like there are lots of other Jewish organizations, fertility organizations that are doing wonderful work on the ground. They can get you to the medical support. They can get you to the financial support. But in terms of the emotional support of being able to reach people at 3:00 in the morning when you're crying in your bed and there's nobody to pick up the phone and call, you can get on social media and you can feel this warm embrace of a community that really gets it. And so that's what I was supposed to have a baby is.
I love that. And it's such a valuable resource. I mean, that was one of the reasons I started my platform, is because when I went through my infertility, there was no Instagram. I mean, I started 7-8 years ago with this. And so it's like there was no Instagram pages or any of that. And especially for the Jewish community. I mean, that's so needed. So thank you for starting this wonderful platform. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Look, I mean, I think that all of us, I believe that all of us in the fertility space, we've taken our own experiences and we've realized that there's a hole, and that hole can be filled. Look, it's not for everybody, right? Like some people really, they're still emotionally dealing with their experiences. There's still so much of the reverberating effects of the trauma and of the loss. And sometimes you don't end up with a happy outcome like I did. And so I don't fault and I don't blame any of those people for taking care of themselves, because at the end of the day, that's what it's about. It's about taking care of yourself and listening to your own needs and your desires. But some of us, for a million reasons that are sort of outside of this space, like we have the financial wherewithal, we have the emotional fortitude, we have the training. There are other ways that we have the ability to help and to be able to reach out to the community and try to offer a service like this. And so that's exactly what I tried to do.
I love that. I love it. So talk to me a little more about your mission. Like, what is your main mission for this platform?
My main mission is to help people feel less alone. That's really what it's all about. This is specifically for the Jewish community, but it is like, I don't check people's identity, their religion, or, any other thing at the door. So to speak, right? If this content is valuable for you, if you feel that it's resonating with you and validating your experiences, then please come, stay, interact, be a part of the community. So it's really meant to be a space for anyone who's struggling along that continuum. So it's not specifically for those who are struggling with infertility. It's not specifically for those who have had loss. It's not, and it's not for those who just only for those who have decided that they're finished with this process and they're not trying anymore. It's really for everyone and anyone. If you're dealing with egg donation, if you're pursuing surrogacy, if you want to have more children, but you can't because of financial constraints or because of a medical issue or because of whatever those reasons are, you belong. And this is the place for you. And it's really meant to be for anyone and everyone in the Jewish community, whatever you're struggling with.
I love that. Such a valuable resource. Like I said, I love it. And so tell me a little bit more about, some of the other services you provide on the platform. Like what are some of your hot topics that you guys discuss on a weekly basis?
Yeah. So we do lots of things. Like yes, it is a space for the Jewish community at large. So we do talk about a lot of themes that are specific to the Jewish community, different Jewish holidays, different Jewish practices that one deals with when going through the calendar year. But it's not about like, this holiday is coming up. Like it's more about the experience around it. So, the holiday of Passover is coming for actually when we're recording this now, but I just realized that this is not going to air until May 18th, so I'll take that right back. Okay. So when the holiday of Hanukkah arrives, there is a lot of focus and it's the same time as Christmas. It's a very big time of year where people focus on gift giving, family gatherings, large programs. And specifically, there's a lot of focus on children. And so those themes are universal to this time, that time of year. And so we talk about, what does it feel like when everyone around you is focusing on the children? What does it feel like when you get to these big family gatherings? Like we talk about Thanksgiving in the same way as we talk about, Hanukkah, but like, when you get to these big family gatherings and everyone's looking around the table and, this cousin and that cousin and this cousin, I mean, obviously we're talking about pre-COVID. So like, let's just call it what it is. But, even in these gatherings, all of these different cousins and the aunts and uncles and the extended family, most of them have children and you do not, or you're still like, or you don't have the family size that you thought like it was going to be. And so how do you answer all of those questions? How do you deal with that nosy like aunt? How do you deflect the people who keep asking like, so when are you finally going to make your mother a grandmother? Like, how do you take this space for yourself in the midst of all of these family events and still stay true to what you are and who you are and kind of make yourself feel okay with both being these events, but yet like having those soul saving moments and those spaces that you can feel okay. So, so many of the themes are very universal, even though they're specifically targeted towards specific Jewish holidays or events. Mm-hmm. But, other than that, the kinds of things that we do is we talk about lots of different topics. We hit medical topics like male infertility, endometriosis, PCOS. We talk about individuals who have terminated for medical reasons and what that kind of experience looks like. Mm-hmm. People who are going through the egg donation or sperm donation process. People who are in same-sex relationships and people who are in relationships who are not yet married and trying to figure out if they want to bring a child into that space or not. People who are single, who don't know whether they're ready to start a family on their own, but are already thinking about their fertility and thinking about egg freezing. So the conversation runs the gamut. And it's just this really beautiful space where we talk about lots of different things.
I love that. And so what do you say to your aunt who's pressuring you? Can you give us a tip or two?
Yeah. I mean, you tell her to shut up. Like,
Right.
I mean, right. Like that's what you want to say, right? Like you want to tell her to like, leave me alone and
Mind
shut
your
up.
business.
Right. Mind your own business and stop asking me these like very personal questions in this very public way so that 30 eyes are now peeled on me as I'm sitting around the Thanksgiving turkey. Like that's what you want to tell her. But instead you say like, there's a great reel running around like, right now, like something like, thank you, so-and-so. That's very kind of you. Thank you so much for asking that question.
Right.
Thank you so much for answering that question. Thank you so much for asking that question. Like the reality is that there are no good answers, but the answer is something to the effect of, I appreciate your thought and thank you so much, but this is private and we're not interested or we're not ready to discuss this yet. Or if you're not, or maybe it's the moment where you do shut people down and you sort of signal to them in a very public way or private way, depending on how the question is asked. You signal to them that this is really not an appropriate question for you to be asking someone. And so maybe the answer is, actually, I've had 3 miscarriages in the last year. And frankly, I'm not interested in talking about it. And that kind of shock value of an answer is enough to make people pause and then not ask that question again. So, for every person, it's very different and these answers are very personal. So I always say like, you decide, do you have the emotional fortitude to go at your aunt in the way that you really want to in that moment, in that space? Great. If you don't, you just say, thank you very much. That's private. And you move on. And maybe you have a conversation with her later in another time or in a couple of months and just say like, that was really painful that you asked me that. Like I'm not ready. We've gone through a lot and it's just not appropriate. So, there are lots of different ways to answer that question. It really just depends on what you're emotionally ready to do.
I love it. And in the South, we just smile and nod. I would just be like, yeah, thanks for asking and keep it moving. And they get the hint.
Right. Because, and, again, like it's cultural, it's personality driven. It's like, maybe you're ready to share and your partner is not, there are so many reasons and so many things that go into that answer. So it's really up to the couple, the individual, the family, they have to make those decisions for themselves.
But I think a good point to mention here is to be ready for that question and think like, what am I going to say? Like, what if she does say that, and I found with me when I was going through this, if I was ready with the answer before it happened, it was less like, oh my God, in the moment, I don't know what I'm going to say. And then I say, shut up and not mean it.
Yes, 1,000%. And look, when I do individual sessions, like that's one of the other things we do. We also offer individual sessions. We offer monthly support groups. And in those sessions, around holiday times, we have those discussions because the questions are coming. Like you're not going to prevent people from asking them because unfortunately, we're still not in a place in society where people have learned enough to not ask those uncomfortable questions. Like people still are asking them. We're trying, like each of us in our own way, right? Like you're doing your work, I'm doing my work. Like we're trying to get people to realize that it's not an appropriate question to ask. But we're not there yet. And so you're absolutely right. The anticipation is a really big piece of this. And having those answers like right there, like waiting for you so you can like pluck them right out of your brain. That's exactly the right way to approach this.
Yes, I love that. So let's talk about your summits. I know you had a summit. I think it was recently. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so tell me a little bit more about that. Who was that for? Who were your speakers? Let's talk into that.
Yeah, thank you. I'm super proud of it. It's really, so the summit was in February. It has been one of my dreams for a very long time, to try to bring together two different kinds of people. One, the representatives from the Jewish fertility, as many different Jewish fertility organizations as possible. It's been a dream of mine to get them around this like virtual table and talking together and working together, collaborating together, because we all know that together we are much better than we are apart. And there's so much power in a group setting as opposed to what a single person or a single organization can do. So that has been a dream of mine for a very long time. So that's what we did. We brought all of these people together to talk about the sensitivity and awareness and the thought and the care that one could give surrounding all of these issues in the fertility space. And the target audience was, it certainly was the person who's in it right now, who's in the trenches, who's struggling. But we specifically gave questions to the different individuals who were part of these organizations. And the questions we gave them were trying to elicit different pieces of the experience. So one question was about the finances. One question was, how do you show up for someone in your life that you know is struggling, and yet you just found out that you're pregnant? And how do you include people who are struggling in the happy moments of your life? Because those moments also deserve to be celebrated. How do you, and then like a third question was, how do you talk to someone after they've had a loss? What do you say? How can you be supportive to them? So, the kinds of questions that we specifically asked were things that, again, were not only directed at those who are struggling now, but they were also aimed at the others, the like onion layer, as I always like to call it, the others surrounding the ones who are internal. So it's that the family member and the friends and the community members. And, we also reached out to clergy and to mental health professionals because, they don't get enough of this training and they're dealing with these kinds of issues a lot. And so let's try to give them from on high, 90 minutes, which turned into 2 hours because no program ever runs on time. Let's try to give them a little bit of something for them to take away for themselves as well. And so I'll brag for like 5 seconds, which I don't like to do, but we had almost 2,000 people attend the event live. And it was, and the responses that we've had, the testimony afterwards of people sharing their stories about how they felt being in a space where people were talking about it from on high, but then also the reverberations of that. I've had dozens and dozens of people say to me, I sent this to my aunt. I sent it to my sister. My mother and I watched together, still COVID, but she in her house, me in my house. And it started this dialogue where we were texting back and forth during the summit. And she said, wow, I never knew that. And I said, yeah, I really wanted you to be able to support me in this way. And now you can, and now you know more. It really opened up the conversation for so many different kinds of individuals in a very real, tangible way that, a one-off, like reading a post on someone's social media or reading an article or even watching a small clip of something, just like, while powerful and while, very much like, really gets to the heart of these issues. But when you're sitting in a space that has so many different viewpoints and talks about so many of these different pieces, it became the conversation starter for so many families. And that was something that I could only have dreamed about. That wasn't our intention when we were, when we were coming up with the idea for the summit. It was, let's just get as much information out there as possible. But the fact that now families are having more productive conversations, and they're utilizing what we did there to foster their own relationships. Like that to me is like, there are just no words. Like there are just no words.
I love that. So where can they watch the replay? Like where can they see this summit?
Yes. So the summit is on our YouTube channel, which, we can link afterwards. We have the full 2-hour and 4-minute version, or you can have the 12-minute highlight reel, or even the shorter 5-minute highlight reel. So yes, they can watch any version they want.
Good. I love it. And yes, we'll link that after on the show notes. And so, yeah, anybody listening, it sounds like an amazing summit. So great job.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank God, it was really, really powerful. And I'm so proud to have been able to put this together.
I love it. Yes. So we're going to take a short break to hear a word from our sponsors. And when we come back, we're going to dive into some more practical tips around infertility, around loss, and even talk about something I saw on your platform, Grief Brain. So you'll tell us all about that.
Amazing.
We'll be back in just a second. Hey y'all, it's Coach Kayla here. I hope you are loving this episode as much as I am. We will be back in just a minute, but first, a word from our sponsors. Hey girl, hey, have I got something exciting for you? My new VIP program to help you get pregnant, stay pregnant, and eliminate your hormone symptoms for good. Text the word intensive to 615-257-8855 for all the details. And don't delay, spots are filling fast, and I only have a limited number. You are not going to want to miss out on this amazing new program. And welcome back. Thank you so much, Aimee, for joining us again.
Look, this has been amazing. I can't wait to hear what else is left. Tell me.
Yes. So let's talk a little bit about your relationship and, how does infertility and pregnancy loss maybe affect that?
Look, I can speak from personal experience, and I can also speak from, the thousands of women that I speak to on a regular basis. Infertility and loss, going through any of these challenges is hard on everyone involved, period. It's obviously, the woman is the one who is carrying the pregnancy, who has to deal with all the shots and all of the doctor's appointments and all of the different procedures and all of those pieces, because the woman is the gestational carrier. That is, biology, frankly. Mm-hmm. But when you're struggling to have a child, there are always there have to be two parts involved. You need an egg and a sperm. If you're going at this alone, then, grappling with that kind of piece by yourself is extraordinarily difficult. But when you're dealing with a partner, it's, the person who's going through it is managing and dealing with the hormonal pieces in addition to the physical changes that are going on in her body. And the partner is just the witness to that. And so often it leads to a lot of communication disconnect of where people just don't ask for what they need, don't know what they need, the partner is left feeling like, I want to support. I don't know how to support. I'm not really connecting to this baby. I don't know why you're so upset. Why is this so much of a big deal? There are 1,000 things that can go wrong in a relationship and that, can cause issues between two people. I'm thankful that in terms of my own personal journey, my husband was always super supportive, and he very much while he was disconnected, he was during our periods of infertility and loss, he went back to work the next day and he was, out in public where I was in my bed for weeks and weeks and weeks on end. And he let me stay there and still would be, what do you need? What can I help you with? But he didn't get it. And I don't think you really can 100% get it unless it's happening to you in your own body. But we were talking about it. And I was saying things like, leave me alone, I don't want you to talk to me today, or please bring me more chocolate chip cookies, or my mother's calling for the 15th time today and I can't answer the phone anymore, you need to talk to her. Right. Like, you know, or like, okay, I'm now ready to talk. Like, what are we doing with this? Are we trying again? Are we not? Like, so the piece, you know, as someone who's lived it and deals with this, but who is very much not a therapist, but all of the recommendations I always get from therapists and dealing with it in my own life is just keep those lines of communication open. Just keep talking. Even if it's the don't bother me, I need to cry, but just keep talking. And the more you have that back and forth, that communication, those lines of communication, the more that when you're ready to talk, you'll know that that person is there. And also I'll just say, like, in a very quick side point, like, you know, I'm putting a lot of emphasis on like the woman as going through like all of the difficult emotions, and the partner or the man who is sort of left out and sort of like immune to it all. There are so many situations that I deal with where it's exactly the opposite, where the partner is the one that's really grieving and really struggling and really like having that terrible hard time and not able to get out of bed. Whereas the one who's, you know, physically and hormonally going through all of it is totally fine and ready to face the world. So it is not always the case that it's the woman in the relationship or the one who's carrying the child that's the one that's really, you know, the one who's suffering the most. So I also just wanted to bring awareness to that piece too. Don't forget about the partners.
Right. And I love what you said too about just keeping that communication open and tell your partner what you need. You know, they're not mind readers. You know, my husband is not a mind reader, and I need to tell him like either leave me the hell alone or I need you. Let's talk about this. But I have to tell him. So I love that you say that.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's talk about some triggering statements. You know, we try to be very mindful on this show to, you know, lead with compassion and, you know, with our hearts. But we also try to be, you know, cheerleaders and lift you up and give you inspiration and hope. And I know some statements like don't give up or you got this can be very triggering to some. So talk to me a little bit more about that. Are you seeing that as well? And how do we overcome that?
Yeah, look, I hear from so many people that you know, when you're really deep down far, like in the far reaches, in the far recesses of that pit of despair, you know, the throwaway lines that I like to call them as they are, what I refer to them as oh, just don't give up. Oh, don't worry. You're young. You'll get pregnant soon. Just like, you know, it'll happen. Like, don't worry. It'll happen. Or just relax. Like it happens to everyone when they stop thinking about it. Like all of these comments, they come from a good place. The intention behind these comments is always one of encouragement, of positivity, of wanting to, the person who's saying this is always wanting to take away some of the pain. And they're thinking that like saying like good vibes only, like, you know, the thought is that if you stay positive, that you'll like drag the other person out of their pit and like drag them out with positive. And like, I think that for some people, like that works, like to have like a positive mantra, to have a piece of like, you know, I can do hard things. I like things are going to get better. Like to carry that personal mantra for yourself is one thing. And that's something that you can hold on to. The problem is that when other people sort of try to impose their positivity on your terrible experience, it ends up, even though it has good intention, it ends up sort of ringing false. It's like, you don't know what I've been through. You can't even begin to understand the crazy of my last 4 years. So good vibes only? Like, what is that even about? Like, instead, it's, yeah, like, you've been through a lot and I'm here for you. And I just want to give you a big hug because I wish I could take that pain away. Like, that rings truer because it's still that enveloping warmth and this, like, I care about you vibe, but not in the, you need to be only positive and you can't think negative. It's the, I'll meet you where you are and cry, and it's okay to be sad, and I'm here to pick you up no matter what. Like, I think it's just like, it's a little bit of a flip on the language. It's, I will be here for you no matter what, even if you're sad. You don't only have to be happy around me. And I think that's always a message I try to impart to people when, you know, the ones who are supporting, like, try, like, meet people where they are. Like, they're not going to be positive all the time. And for you to tell them that is often just not helpful.
I agree completely. And I think that, again, comes back to communication, listening to what people tell you they
100%.
need, and then, you know, doing that, you know, listening to their wishes. So I love it. Yes.
1,000%. Look, communication is key. Always.
Yes. So talk to us a little about grief brain. What, I saw that on your platform. What is it? And, you know, how can we manage it?
Look, you know, grief brain, like, grief brain is this, like, you know, 1,000 things coming at you all at once. The stress of, like, let's just specifically, like, I use the word grief brain to refer to anyone who's going through any struggle with fertility, because sometimes it's not immediately after a loss and it's termed grief, but it's just like overwhelming stuff brain, let's call it that, right? It's the, like, but if you use it specifically in grief, right? Like, you thought you were having a baby. You've just found out suddenly that your baby is not alive anymore, either because you've walked into an appointment and there's no heartbeat, or you're now bleeding and there's some sort of, like, traumatic physical event that's happening to you that makes you know your baby is not alive anymore. And so you've gone from this emotional shift of hope and looking forward to something positive to now this overwhelming desperation of despair. You know what I'm trying to say? Yeah. And this overwhelming despair, and that shift, like, immediately, it's like, it's such a shock to the reality that it's really hard for people to focus. And so what happens is, you know, people talk about the stages of grief, right? Like, there's the, I don't even remember them anymore because we know they're not true, but it's something like, you know, denial, acceptance, bargaining, this, like, there are, like, these 5 stages, but those, like, the stages, the progression of one to go from neatly from the next to the next to the next just doesn't exist. Like, grief is this experience where, like, the emotions are just flooding all the time. And because you're being flooded with these, like, very, very strong emotions, it's hard to focus on other things, like just the mundane things in life. So, like, when we were discussing this, like, you know, we were just discussing this on my page, like, people were talking about putting their cereal in their cupboard and putting the cereal in the refrigerator and putting their milk in the cupboard, or like showing up to appointments 2 weeks before the appointment is actually scheduled because they wrote it down wrong in their calendar. Or, like, the classic thing that I do where I put something in the oven and then, like, forget to turn the timer on, and all of a sudden an hour later I'm like, sniff, 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 what's burning? And, like, my entire dinner is burnt. Like, these are, like, very classic things that happen when you're overwhelmed with life. Like, you're just trying to get through a day. And so it's hard to focus. Like, short-term memory is often gone. This feeling numb and, like, feeling like things are just sort of coming at you and you're not really experiencing them in the full way that you normally would have, this loss of appetite or increased appetite, loss of attention, not being able to sleep or wanting to sleep more. Like, look, some of these signs and symptoms are symptoms of depression. Like, that's what they are. But this grief brain, like, really can go on for years and years and years, especially if you're dealing with a multi-year struggle with infertility. Like, you know, when you have appointments on the daily and you have all these shots that you need to take, and then this procedure and that procedure, and you're not sure, and you have to call this doctor appointment, and your mother's yelling at you because she wants to know if you're coming to Thanksgiving dinner or not. And then this, like it's just like, there are all these things. And then you lose your car keys. Like, of course you lose your car keys, like, because it's just too much. And so that's grief brain.
Wow. I definitely can say I've had grief brain before. Yes.
We all have.
Putting the tea.
My dinner has burnt and I've lost my car keys. So yes, I fall under all of those categories.
Yes. I was going to say I do a lot is I'll put the tea kettle on and not turn it on. And then I'm like waiting for my tea to get ready. And I'm like, it's still cold. Totally. Why is it not ready?
Totally. It's like the story of my life. Yes. Yeah. Yes, totally.
I love it. Well, tell us where we can find you, where we can find this amazing summit and learn more about your organization.
Thank you. Look, we are on Instagram at I Was Supposed to Have a Baby. We have a website, iwassupposedtohaveababy.org. There are links both in our bio on Instagram and on our website page and on our website that links out to our YouTube channel where all of these things are hosted, and also to our support groups, which are always free, and, you know, to all of these other resources. We've also done, I think, like 40 some odd Insta Lives with different medical professionals and bloggers and different people in the space. So there is lots and lots and lots of stuff that's out there to be supportive beyond the regular content.
I love it. And we're going to link all of those in the show notes. And so everybody can find you, you know, on all of these different places. I love that.
Thank you so much again for the opportunity.
Yes. Thank you. And tell us any final thoughts you want to leave us with.
Look, I think my final thoughts are that support is out there. Support is very much out there. I know how hard it is to make that first call because you don't want to admit to yourself that you need the help, that you're actually going through infertility, that you can't handle the grief on your own. I know, because I didn't want to make those phone calls either. But if you're ready to pick up the phone, if you're ready to get on Instagram and start scrolling, there is a lot and lots. There are lots and lots and lots of people and accounts beyond mine, like this one also. Yes. There are lots of support out there. And please, like, we're here and we're ready for you. And, you know, if you're able to pick up the phone, we are here and we would absolutely love to help you.
I love that. Such wonderful advice to leave us with. So thank you for that. And thank you so much for being here. It's been a pleasure getting to know you and I really appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Until next time on the Hormone Puzzle Podcast, thank you for listening. Bye for now. Hey, hang on just 1 second before you go. I want to make sure that you are aware of all of the amazing free resources that I have for you on my website at CoachKayla.com. From a fertility meal plan, a cycle syncing quick start guide, a holistic healing cookbook, as well as master classes, blog posts by me and some amazing experts in the fields of fertility, hormones, and nutrition. So many wonderful resources that will help you on your journey. And I wish there had been something like this when I was going through my 2 years of infertility, but there just wasn't. And so that's why I decided to create all of this for you. So make sure that you go and check it out and you take advantage of this plethora of support that I have provided for you. And spoiler alert, these were some of the same tricks and the same foods that I used to get myself pregnant, not once, but twice, even after my doctors said that I couldn't. So I know that these things work. Make sure you take advantage of that. And I cannot wait for you to be my next success story. So thanks, love. See you soon. Thanks for tuning in today to the Hormone Puzzle Podcast. Check out the show notes for today's episode at CoachKayla.com. If you like what you hear, please subscribe and leave a review. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you next week.